Invisible Woman, Marvel's first mommy, is the first new strategist added to Marvel Rivals. She's a powerful close-range control strategist that does a combination of high healing and controlling enemies' movements. The huge amount of pressure this character can produce has a high impact on games, and as long as you're playing her well, you're gonna find her quite rewarding. The her kit can be a little bit confusing, but that's why you're here, to learn how to play this character. We're gonna go over her kit and talk about what her skills do. At the end, we're gonna talk about strategies and techniques you need to implement as this character to do better in your games. Her basic attack or projection shoots out a projectile that goes outwards and returns. This pierces targets and deals damage and healing on the way out as well as on the way back. It caps out about 30-meter range, so you do have to keep closer to your vanguards than the average healer has to. And you're not going to be able to heal targets that have dived into the enemy back lines without putting yourself at risk. Sue really isn't proficient at healing DPS because she's more focused on healing the vanguards and penetrating through them through the enemy lines to deal both damage and healing, and should be utilized more often for this rather than to top off single targets. Sue's secondary fire or right click is Guardian Shield. This is going to put a directional shield on a target based off of the direction that they're currently facing. The shield has 300 HP and you're able to track its health based off of the indicator that appears above your reticle. The shield is stationary, and if the target moves, the shield does not move along with them. As long as the shield remains in place, any players that get near the shield will receive constant healing over time. While it may feel like you should be putting this onto the vanguards to give them a block of damage and then receive healing, it's actually almost always best to put this on an off angle towards a damaged player, encouraging players to stand nearby it to receive the healing, but placing it in a safe spot that it's not going to get broken. The sheer amount of healing that this can produce is really high, and it can allow you to heal a sniper type character or give the dive character a place that they can go to receive healing while you're not able to reach them. Setting up good shield locations is going to be really core to playing the Invisible Woman well, and learning where to put these on each of the different maps is going to be very beneficial. You can press the F key to remove the shield if you're about to abandon the area that the shield's in, and you can just right click at any time to move the shield to a new target. Once the shield's broken, it's got a 6-second cooldown before it's going to be available again. Her left shift is Psionic Vortex. She shoots out a projectile, and upon hitting a surface, it becomes a zone gravitational well. This is going to pull all enemies in the area towards the center and slow their movement speed, while dealing damage over time. It's not enough of a slow to stop a target from moving through it, and the pull isn't particularly significant unless the target's standing still. After shooting it, you can press the key again to have it re-detonate at its current position. This can be used to place it at an ideal location rather than needing to hit a surface. The total area that it covers is going to be quite a bit larger if you use this technique, so you're going to want to try and be practiced at placing this better rather than relying on surface hits. Two best uses for this is shutting down divers as well as grounding flyers. For shutting down divers, if there is a Black Panther, Iron Fist, or some other player diving into the enemy lines and moving about, shooting the gravitational well on the ground between the diver and your backline is going to severely slow down the diver's engage potential. If players are able to keep themselves between the diver and the gravitational well, that'll constantly slow and damage the player and allow you to take them out. If there's a flyer in the air, you can shoot out the vortex towards them and then before hitting them, reactivate it. This is going to create the field in the air, and any flyer within the zone will immediately be grounded. They're not going to be able to fly as long as they're within the zone's range, and that should make your DPS have an easier time taking them out. In a team fight, this well ends up doing a lot of damage, and you're going to want to be placing it right in the middle of the group as often as you possibly can, forcing players to fight through it or having to go around it, compromising their position. Her E ability is Force Physics. This is a reactivate ability that upon activating, you can either left click to launch targets away from you, or right click to pull them towards you. Each one has its use, and you're probably most often going to be wanting to use the push away, but it's most often beneficial to use the pull towards you. Isolating targets from their team and pulling them into your team is one of the best ways to take out a target. Players want to be comfortable and in the position that they like to be in. Pushing somebody away from the current position they're in usually isn't that detrimental to their plans, where pulling them forward can definitely mess up what they want to be doing. Practicing when is the right time to push and pull is going to take some work, and you're going to have to identify situation by situation. This is a very potent ability. Pushing a Doctor Strange out of the team after he's used his ultimate, pulling a vulnerable player towards your team, or shoving somebody off a cliff are all very powerful uses of this ability. Sue's passive is Covert Advance. Anytime after not using any of her abilities, she's going to become invisible. She'll remain invisible until she uses any of her basic skills, or if she receives any damage. An invisible support character is really hard to track down, and her ability to move around the field, not taking any attention when she would be vulnerable, and being able to get towards her team is going to be really good for that player. She has a double jump called Veiled Step. The double jump is going to place you immediately into invisibility and give you a small boost of movement speed during the secondary jump. This gives her some huge mobility and the ability to get around the battlefield pretty effectively. When she's in danger, she can double jump, using the second jump at an off angle to quickly become invisible and disengage from her aggressor. It should be really easy for you to be able to escape from incoming aggressors because they're not going to be able to track you down during your invisible state. Her melee combo is 2 strikes and then a knockback effect. It's got decent damage compared to her basic attack, but the knockback is going to stop you from dealing reliable damage to a target. It is a great way to quickly disengage a target that's gotten onto you if you don't feel like you're going to be able to kill it or your team's going to be able to react in time. Melee knockback, E knockback, is a great way to fully disengage from a target. Her ultimate is Invisible Boundary. She's going to create a large ring area. Any allies within the ring are going to receive constant healing during the effect. Enemies outside the ring are not going to be able to see anything and will have slight after images of players that are within it. The healing of this effect is massive, and very few skills are going to be able to kill a target within its effect. And while your allies are invisible to external forces, it's unlikely they're going to be able to use their powerful one-shot mechanics against your team. This is definitely one of the strongest healing ultimates in the game, but do remember that it is stationary. It lasts for 8 seconds, which is in the mid-range for healing ultimates. She's the activator for a team-up with her husband, Mr. Fantastic, which gives him some bonus health options. But we'll talk about that in his video. Alright, so when it's playing as the Invisible Woman, you need to be hanging out pretty close to your vanguards. Utilize the huge healing and damage potential of your basic attack, constantly striking multiple targets. Identify what kind of DPS you have for knowing the best place to put down your shield. If you have a poke style DPS, have them hide behind their cover and place the shield there. Then whenever they're poking out, they're able to deal their damage, and if they have any retaliatory blows, they can just poke back into their cover and receive healing without needing your attention. This way you don't have to be constantly checking behind you to see who needs healing. As long as your barrier is up, it's your duelist's job to stay nearby it. If you have a dive style duelist, find where their engagement angle is at and try and place the shield around that area, allowing them to receive healing after they've gotten out of their engagements. Do note that your shield is your only way to heal yourself, and you can't place it on yourself. You need an ally to be able to place it on. So if you've taken any damage, you need to know where your shield is at to be able to receive the healing, or you need the other strategists on your team to keep you topped off. Be watching the enemy team for overzealous DPS members that have gotten themselves slightly out of position. If someone's moved up too close to perhaps take out a spider nest or try and hit a backliner, you can quickly use your force physics pull to pull the target into your team. This works really well on any form of flyers or anybody taking a high vantage point, as the extra distance they'll travel from that high point is going to pull them deeper and deeper into your team and make it easier for your team to be able to kill that target. Also watch out for cliffs or any area that you're able to knock a target off of, and try to utilize your force physics to get a quick, easy kill on a target, shooting them off of the map. The key to playing Invisible Woman well is dealing as much damage and healing as you can with your basic attacks while moving the enemy team and keeping them off of their comfortable positions. Now go out, heal your allies, disrupt your enemies, and disappear as the Invisible Woman. In the next video, we're going to talk about her stretchy husband, Mr. Fantastic. He's a powerful brawl-style duelist that can potentially take on the role of an off-tank if you have one of the stronger solo tanks. We'll talk more about that next time. Sazaze.